Hey, what's going on, young folks? It's the kid, Jared Sanders. Y'all probably call me Minister Jared or something like that. In any event, I got a couple questions for y'all. Who do y'all talk to when it's time for y'all to have that birds and bees conversation?
Yeah. 2. Yeah. Aye.
Got over money.
I'm jacking the beat, you calling the cops. The yapping is cheap, I call you the ops. The rapping is hating, it's all cause of pop. You get a leak for the ball, get a drop. Feel like I'm wrong when I double it back, cause I'm making it harder to catch that. But I covered the ticket, I call you to visit. You tipping and hit up the cash app. Baby girl, been around for it, yeah. In the old days, I was stuck in old ways. Never really trying to flip the old page. Young man tripping at an old age. Thinking I was flicking, had a low wage. Led the bro days, then a slow praise. Thinking it'd be different, it was gon' change. Then it really didn't, it's a cold game. Yeah, ayy. All I really wanted was the money in the pocket. Got over money, but the money ain't a topic. Like Bill Doe and the money gotta stop it. Kid need food and the whip need juice. I'ma get these views when I'm funny with the profit. Don't trust it, I ain't running with an object. Don't clutch it, I don't want it when it's toxic. I don't got time for the fam, thinking I'ma have a letdown. I'ma step up before I ever gotta step down. Gotta bless God and he order my steps now. Prayer closet, when you wanna see me with the head down. HID on the checks now, check IG for the specs now, yeah. Yes, my G, I'm blessed now. Not a step 2, I'm a step round, yeah. Glory to God, all of my problems are bursting the flames. I wanted all of the static, he told me he had it, and now I'ma worship his name. Shout to the man upstairs, cause now I'm aware I was sinning and needed repentance. Now I'ma get it, whatever the Mr. Will, son like Dennis the Menace. Cooking the kitchen, he made me a chemist. Homie, I'm fixing a new plate. Said he's supplying, but I gotta quiet the noise. He making a souffle. Counting the blessing, I got an embarrassment of riches. I'm checking on new day. If I got it down the daily to win, I'ma double the L's like Cool J. Yeah, big guy. Homie, it's 3 and 1. Yeah, big guy. Homie, it's 3 and 1. Yeah, big guy. Homie, it's 3 and 1. Yeah, hey, big guy. Homie, it's 3. Yeah.
My mama, man, she didn't play, man. My mama made us go to church. Made us. We ain't even sin yet. We still had to go to church. Now get up, you are going to church. Mama, can't the preacher come here sometimes?
Hello, Misfits. Welcome to the Let's Talk About Sex Misfit Real Talk session. Thank y'all for joining in. We are going to sit on this panel today, and we're going to have these conversations that y'all are afraid to have with your parents, or just don't know how to start them, or just uncomfortable. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff that y'all probably have been having questions about, and it's going to be amazing. I have Jared with me today. He going to help me facilitate this thing. We're going to have a good time. We got some kids back here that's going to help us talk about it and get through it. So we're going to go through. Everybody going to introduce themselves, and we're going to jump right into it, all right?
I'm Christian, and I'm 16.
I'm Maya, and I'm 17.
I'm Jalen, and I'm 18.
I'm Aaliyah, and I'm 17.
I'm Nick, and I'm 16.
I'm Jared, and I'm 30 plus 5. I'm a father and a husband, and I love Chick-fil-A and Jesus in my family, in that order. I'm just happy to be here, y'all. Like, seriously, that's all I'm here for.
All right, thank you. Thank y'all for just taking time out to come and have these conversations. Again, this is a no judgment zone. So if you are a parent and you are watching this broadcast, this is to open up dialogue and communication between you and your kids. This is not for you to tell them what they think or how they feel. It's for you to be able to listen, have a conversation, so that when we teach our kids and we talk to them, they're getting the proper information from us and not learning stuff out there the wrong way. Amen. So it's going to be real. It's going to be raw. It's going to be live. It's going to be uncut. And what we wanted to do is just foster a good communication between you and your kid, or maybe you and somebody else's kid who, you might talk to about sex, in another way or whatever, but we want it to be a no judgment zone. Remember what it was like when you were 16, when you were 17, 15, or whenever. Remember those days and give them the same type of understanding that you would have wanted somebody to give you. Amen. All right, Jared. So I got a couple questions for you before we even get into these kids. All right.
Okay.
So when we came up in a different era. We came up, with, old school music, love music, cleaning up. We didn't have the internet like that. We came up kind of trying to not necessarily figure it out, but we came up, we had a little bit more fun. It was, less pressure with certain things.
Right.
So when you were 15, 16, still in high school, was relationships very important to you? Did you really want to be in a relationship? Did you want to have a girlfriend? Like, how was it when you came up?
Hindsight being 2020, I would say, no. I wanted sex, S-E-C-K-S. So I didn't want a relationship though. I just kind of thought that in order to, like, I watched a lot of Disney movies, right? And when you watch Disney movies, you understand that they don't just get to the happily ever after. They get to the point where, like, there's a guy who likes a girl and they get in a relationship first. So I felt like the only way I was gonna get to the destination, which was, doing the do, I had to get in a relationship. And back then, when I was in school, it wasn't really cool to be known as, a thought, right? It was cool. Everybody kept it quiet. They didn't do that in public. So for me, I was like, well, let me kind of hide that by having some girlfriends so I could get to the end goal. So the pressure really, it wasn't a goal for me to have a relationship. It was a goal for me to do the thing I needed to do to get to the ultimate goal. So that's kind of what it was for me.
All right, so your relationship, basically, the ultimate goal during that time was sex,
Right.
but it was attached to relationship.
Right.
Right? And that was what, 1990?
Well, when I was in middle school, that was about 98.
1998.
Yeah.
All right, let's fast forward. So y'all are, what's considered millennials. Y'all are in 2021, y'all out here. Is relationships really important to you guys? Like, is it something that is, like, y'all are looking to be in? And if so, why is being in a relationship so important to you? I'm gonna start with you, Jalen. Why is it?
I wouldn't say that it's a top priority for me, but I also wouldn't mind being in one. And I guess that's just because it's always nice to have somebody else who's not just some of your friends that you can't really talk to, but having that one person that you can always go to, like, no matter what. I guess it's just the thought of having that is nice for me, so I wouldn't mind being in one.
Oh, okay. What about you, Nicholas? I got to get a fella in here.
Well, to bounce off what Jalen said, it's more of having a companion, because we're in high school, we're going through, we don't want to be through it alone, and we may not be alone, but we want to have that one person, like she said, that we can just kind of talk to, flirt with, just have a good time with for the most part.
Okay, that's what's up. I see you look curious to say something, Christian. Go ahead.
So nobody really looks for a long-term relationship in high school. They just want a special somebody other than their parents to get love and attention from.
Oh, okay. So that's a nice alley-oop. So when we say love and attention, I like to ask this question. When you find yourself curious about a relationship, and I'll ask this open to everybody, what kind of attention are y'all looking for? Is it just like a text buddy? Is it somebody to hang out with? Like, what are y'all looking for when you say love and attention?
So love would mean somebody who's always there for you, caring for you. Attention, somebody who would, show you what you want.
Okay. So what do you want?
I mean, I think you can get love and attention from a friend, a parent. You can get love and attention from anybody. It's just different when you're in a relationship.
Okay. So are relationships like relationships between boyfriend, girlfriend relationships, are those important to y'all? Like, is it very important for y'all to have one while you in high school?
I wouldn't say it's very important. I would say it's not a need. It's more of a want. It's like candy, basically. It's like, oh my goodness, you see it. Like, my favorite candy, for instance, is peanut M&Ms. If I see some peanut M&Ms in the store, I want them peanut M&Ms.
I feel that.
If I can't get them, I'm gonna be blown for a little bit, but it's not gonna change my life. But you do want it.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
And for some people, it's also kind of like a norm or an expectation that they want to have throughout their high school like life or something like that. They kind of just want at least one person so they can say that they had that experience in high school too.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And like she said, like it's our expectation. Like you said earlier with the Disney movies, we grew up on High School Musical and Victorious and iCarly, where they were going through high school with boyfriends and girlfriends. So it was kind of our expectation growing up, like, oh man, we need this to get through high school.
In it being an expectation or in it being something that you guys want to do, as Jared stated, that when he was in a relationship, the end goal was sex. When you guys consider being in a relationship, even based off the shows that you watched, is the purpose behind the relationship, is the end goal sex? Is sex important in the relationship? Nicholas?
No, I wouldn't say that the end goal, as you said, would be sex. No, it would just be companionship, basically. Like, we just want that companionship. We want to feel loved, as Christian said. We want to feel that attention. We don't want to just, well, me personally, I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but I don't want to just have sex. That's not all I want to have in a relationship. Like, yes, it'd be a plus, but no, that's not all I want to have.
Okay, well, how about you, Maya? How about it?
I don't think it's a necessity. I think that should be time you're spending to get to know each other.
Getting to know each other.
Get to
We
know
got
each
some
other.
old wholesome kids up
Okay,
in
they
here.
good babies.
Amen.
All right. So let me see. Let me see. Am I hearing that sex is not the end goal, but it is something that's taken into consideration when you enter into a relationship? Do you take it into consideration? Nicholas, you're shaking your head. Yes, you do. So tell me what that looks like, taking sex into a consideration.
So taking it into consideration doesn't mean always acting on what you're thinking about. So let's say like you think about like, oh my goodness, this is my girlfriend. We've been dating for a long time. Let's have sex. No, it's like oh my goodness, I want this. I'm feeling that kind of way. Maybe talk about it with your other, like your companion or whatever, and not really act on it, because again, that's not the right way to go about it. But sometimes that's just how you feeling in the moment.
Okay, what about you, Christian? I see you look anxious.
I think sex happens naturally. I think the point of the relationship is for you guys to uplift each other to reach a goal.
And okay, so the goal in that context, just to kind of flesh that out, what's the goal, in your opinion?
For you two to be happy.
Okay, so happiness being the goal. We in relationships to be happy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good question, and the reason why I asked that is because being that these relationships are engaged, as Christian said, to be happy, where in the list of priorities would you rank sex when it comes to a relationship? Where would you have it? Is it the top? Is it the bottom? Like, what are some things that are more important in a relationship? So I kind of want to flesh that out. I'm going to ask Maya.
I think it would be last. I think getting to know that person and having a bond and stuff comes first.
Okay. What about you, Christian?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Having creating the bond would probably be the top.
Okay. We'll go across, actually. We'd make it easy. How about you, Jalen?
Yeah, that would probably be the same for me. I think getting to know that person and getting to know their views and where they stand on certain things, that's probably more important.
Okay.
I agree. I think having a connection with someone, knowing them, not just like knowing their favorite color, but knowing them on a deeper level as well, is more important than sex.
Yeah, I agree with everything that everybody else said, and also like knowing those little things about the person. Like we talked about this earlier, just knowing like simple questions that if your mom was supposed to ask you, like, oh, what's your girlfriend's middle name? And you just sit there blank. No, you want to be able to know that stuff. Like, no, just a little stuff about that person.
Okay.
So I got a question. If everybody agrees that getting to know them on a deeper level is more important than sex, like it's, that sex does not rank high, when does it cross over? When does that change? Like, where do you reach? Like, what's the level that you guys get to where then it's like, okay, now sex is what I'm ready to do? What is the determining factor about, okay, I'm ready to have sex with this person?
I think it's just when you're both ready and you're mature enough to engage in that act. I mean, I think it just depends on the people and how comfortable they are together.
Okay, do y'all feel any pressure let's say you like somebody a whole lot, right? You've gotten to the point where you know their middle name, You know their favorite color. You know what school they went to when they was 5 years old, and their shoe size and stuff like that. Is there any pressure once you feel like you know somebody to say, hey, maybe we should have this conversation about this thing? Is there any pressure to bring that up?
No, I don't think there's pressure necessarily to bring it up. I think it's more of, so I'm a junior in high school. If I start dating someone in a junior, I would not be like ready mentally to have sex with that person until I'm in college, at least. Just because, again, high school relationships are short term for the most part, and finding that one person that, oh man, you're gonna take my virginity, you're gonna take me to the next level, I'm gonna wanna marry you. So I'm not just gonna give it up to you after 5 months, 6 months of dating you, if I done went this far without it.
Oh, okay. I like this. Y'all deep. I'm over here like, man, I wish I thought like you when I was y'all age. And that's good. What about you, Aaliyah?
I don't think like conversations and things like that are planned. I think it just happens naturally. Like maybe you guys are talking about something else or doing something else, and it just flows into that topic or that happens.
Oh,
So it's just it's organic. Okay. So with it being organic, when it comes up in your conversations in your relationships, right? Do you feel that it is easy to discuss the decision that you're about to make with your parents? Like, how do you bring that up to your parents? If you're in a relationship, y'all done had the conversation, because I'm pretty sure you and your significant other, y'all done talked about it already, right? When it's time to discuss it with your parents or even just bring it up, is that an easy conversation to have? Or do you avoid even bringing your parents into the decision at all? Aaliyah.
I avoid it. I'm not comfortable talking about that with my parents. I mean, if they were to bring it up, it's weird to talk about. I mean, I would discuss it if they initiated the conversation, but I wouldn't.
You wouldn't bring. Oh.
Oh no. I'm gonna keep it real because I'm not far off from that. I mean, my first conversation about the sex, like it kind of became something we stumbled upon. Like it was so for me, I can already relate to y'all in that regard. Talking about how difficult it is. But what do you guys think that it's important when it comes to your parents obviously being experienced in that regard? Do you think it's important for you guys to try to introduce the conversation? Like let's say you like somebody a lot, like they know that they didn't seen your parents, they didn't been around your house, y'all done had dinner at some point. It's like, okay, because I know my mom would be thinking it, So do you think it's a time where you would bring that up to your folks?
I don't know. I feel like the conversation shouldn't be just planned, oh my goodness, I'm going to think this out, and then just ask my parents to start talking about it. I feel like it should just be spur of the moment. You're watching a movie and you see something in the movie, you just talk about like, how would you feel if I was doing that? And then it just spurs from there instead of just...
Or just throw it at them.
Instead of just talking about it. Because one, you catch them off guard. If you just... So I know for my parents at least, if I was to sit them down and just start talking about it or like plan out a conversation, I would stumble up and not talk about it the right way. I would come off the wrong way and they wouldn't fully understand what I'm feeling. But if it's just spur of the moment, oh, I'm watching a movie and I thought about this and I asked them the question, they're not gonna know what I'm talking about. They just gonna answer the question, I'm gonna get some feedback from them.
Oh, okay. They're gonna put the parents on trial.
Throw it at
now.
us.
Hey, check this out. I like, this scene right here. Like, if I did that, I'd be cool.
Okay, so so you guys feel like, what I take from that, you feel like that a bulk of the weight of responsibility is on us as parents to initiate the conversation and talk to you guys about it. Is that more of the expectation, or or no? Like,
yeah, what you think, Christian?
I feel like, yeah, it's mostly on the responsibility of the parents, because if the parent doesn't want the child to have the same consequences that the parent might have faced, then they would talk to them instead of just leaving them be.
Okay.
All right, give a warning.
Okay, there it is.
I mean, I don't personally do this, but I think it's on both. Like, they probably have experienced it, and they could tell us how it went or tell us how they feel about it. But at the same time, a kid or us, we're not gonna want to start that conversation. It's weird.
Okay. So yeah, I see. We got two sides, right? So there's the expectation that the parents will initiate, and then there's also the expectation that, well, maybe we got to be okay trying to have the conversation as well, right? So, is there a happy medium that could be had? Because I'm be honest, I don't know too many parents that's about to, I don't know a lot of parents that are just gonna be like, y'all having sex? Yeah, let's talk about it. And then I feel like a lot of kids ain't gonna be like, so mom, this position in this movie, like, is it, like it's hard for me to see that. So what's a happy medium? Is it like do you catch them by surprise, right? It's like that scene right there, that one. Can we do that?
I don't know. I think it depends on like your parents. First of all, like your relationship with your parents. Like if you and your parents have a joking relationship and y'all joke about everything, make it a joke. Like, oh my goodness, this is a funny scene, as you said with that. But if your parents are super serious, then you kind of got to ease them into it, not really just go straight to the point. You got to make it a serious conversation. So I don't know.
So that's a caveat. See, now I get to ask Nikki, right? I get to be like, okay, so what would be the appropriate way to address the conversation? Let's say if your child is, hey, I'm kind of curious about it. What would you find to be the most comfortable?
So for me, because I am very straightforward, and I think that this is something that we don't talk about enough, which is why it's weird, which is why it's uncomfortable to talk about, because in the church, just period, we don't address sex enough. So I feel like, for me, just the blunt, get it out the way, because I think the initiation of it is the most uncomfortable part. But once we start talking, I think it becomes more comfortable, in addition to, as a parent, remembering that I was 16 once. I've been here, I've done this already. So not coming at my kids in a way of, don't, you better, and no. Hey, I remember being here. I remember what it felt like. I remember what we did. So just, there has to be a starting point. So figuring out who your kids are, what their personality is, and doing a starting point, even if it's uncomfortable. And even if it's take all the judgment off the table, take everything off. This is an open zone to talk about it. Hey, are you thinking about sex? You are. What are your thoughts about it? How do you feel about it? What is triggering these things? Are you watching something that's triggering it? Are you, because you're in a relationship, like having a in-depth conversation, but in the conversation, having a stopping point? Because what happens is, if we start talking about it from a parental standpoint and we start getting inundated with a lot of information, we get flustered and can't really answer. So if my kids start telling me, yeah, I'm thinking about it, as a matter of fact, on the bus I did it, I'm like, whoa, what happened? And so we have to know as parents how to remove the emotion out of it and really deal with the issue, so that we can convey correctly, where I'm not judging them, but I'm letting them know, all right, I know how you feel, I went through this, but this is why I don't want you to do it, or this is why we have to keep having these conversations. And if we end it at a stopping point, but leave it open for discussion, then we got to come back around to it. I want my kids to, even when they're about to make the decision, to still hear my voice and to know, all right, let me still talk to my mom about it. Like, let me talk, because it's not uncomfortable anymore, because it's been an ongoing conversation.
Right. Okay. Well, have you guys ever felt like that kind of candid introduction to the conversation would be difficult to have based upon the relationship that you have with your folks? Well, like maybe they're stricter than others, right? Like maybe they're not gonna have.
Well, I'm an anxious person, period. So like I'm gonna be anxious about the conversation either way. So I'd rather you just start asking me the questions and just look me dead in the face and be like, you better answer, instead of just not really starting the conversation. So like if you just start it and then I have to answer and then I get comfortable in the conversation, that would be better for me than.
What about you, Maya? Because you're pretty quiet, you're pretty reserved. So would you prefer your parents to be really, really candid and just jump in there? Or do you need, like, no, take me out to eat first. Like, take me shopping first before we had this conversation. Like, give me a girl's day. Like, how would you prefer your parents to initiate this conversation with you?
I don't want them to just go into it. I want them to, ease into it.
Oh, yeah. Easing into the conversation. Because I don't have kids at this age yet, so I'm kind of learning. I'm just learning right now. I'm like, oh, okay, so when they get about the, Okay, yeah, then we gonna have a conversation. So take out girl day. Oh, where you get your nails done? Let's go ahead.
then
Now
have
we
the
can
con-
talk.
And I think it's a difference too. Or do you guys feel it's a difference between the conversation from parent to son and parent to daughter? All right, so my girl's like, yes, it's a difference. Tell me, Aaliyah, what you think the difference is.
I feel like it's like parents are more strict with girls sometimes, but everyone's more strict with girls. That's just how everything is. Like, girls are not, it's like we're not supposed to be doing stuff like that, but if a guy does, it's okay.
I think that's just mainly because girls get more attached than a guy would normally. That's kind of how parents would see it, as us getting more attached to the guy, and then all these issues come out of that. That's probably why they're more strict on us.
Let me ask Christian, is the conversation, so obviously your mom's bringing up you, so is it a conversation that when it comes to the topic of sex, is it awkward for you to have like your mom introduce the conversation as opposed to your dad? Like, is it more difficult to respond depending upon who's delivering the message?
Not really, because they're kind of like the same person. They try and find humor into it. They try and make it funny. But I think a parent should understand first before they try to be understood.
Okay, listen to understand instead of just talking to be understood. I get that. So now that we've gotten to the point where it sounds like sex is in the far future for these children on the stage, right? But no, I'm just joking. But since it seems like that is not the highest on the list of priorities, do you guys believe that that there is a goal to be abstinent? Is abstinence a goal? Like, until you're married? Like, have you ever thought like, hey, well, I mean, obviously I ain't gonna do this in high school because I want to get to know him. Because you get past college and then be cool with having not had sex. Is that something that seems attainable?
I think biblically, yes, it's supposed to be like attainable, but then I think there's a double standard when it comes to parents talking about with their kids, because again, parents may not have been abstinent when they were growing up, but they want us to be. So I feel like they should be like, yes, you should try and tell us like, do what I say, not what I do, but at the same time, you didn't do it, so why is it such a big deal if I don't?
Okay, so y'all, you prefer them keep the same energy, is what you're saying. It's like, hey, you was out here, you need to be cool with me being out here in the event that I'm out here.
Okay, so the issue with I get it, because I think at 15, 16, that probably was my view. For real. Until you have a kid, then it's like, whoa, pump your brakes. Nope, that ain't my view no more. I changed my mind. So what if, coming from the standpoint of, because I do feel like abstinence is attainable, I feel like it's hard. I don't feel like it's something that's easy that you just, you can just do, especially with all the stuff that you guys go through. But from a coming from like a parental standpoint, it's more of not that we don't, or parents don't want you to do it because, whatever. It is, we did it, so it's almost like we know what comes with it. You know what I mean? And and I think I can speak for all the parents represented up here and, and on our screens. We want better for our kids than we had. So it's not coming from a place of, don't you do it. Do what I say, not what I do. More of, be better than me. Be better than I was. Like, make better decisions than me. And if any information I can give you about sex and not getting, because you made it clear, like sometimes we get attached when you have sex. Like, it's from a place of, I just want you to be better. We just want you to be better. But in us wanting you to be better, you guys consider that like a double standard?
Yeah, it seems like a double standard because, I don't know, it's not voiced the right way. It's not voiced as a do better. It's voiced as a, you do this, there's going to be a bunch of wrongs that happen. Like, okay, when you did it, did you just do it and didn't care about the wrongs? Or did you get caught up in a situation and you were having a good time and, oh, you had sex?
Ooh.
That may have been how it was. So if that happens to us, why is it such a big deal when it wasn't that much of a big deal when you got caught up in the situation?
Yeah, so it comes off really rigid.
right? I would say this in hindsight, and this is just me being transparent as somebody who's trying to be honest. I wish, hindsight 2020, that I didn't have sex until I got married, right? And I only say that because, and I also wish I had listened when people were saying, don't do that. Like, no, there's all these other things that come with it. And the main reason why is because, you know, my desire to say, well, that ain't gonna be me, right? I'm mature enough, I'm old enough, I could do this. I'm gonna be able to do this and be a normal, functional, rational adult. And that didn't happen that way. Like, so I would say that in hindsight, we never really get the opportunity to see in 20 years into the future, right? And a lot of times, because we're so desiring to live for today, that we never actually process like what this decision is gonna make. Like, it takes one decision to change the trajectory of your whole life. So there's people that I decided to share my body with that I ended up years down the line being like, why did I do that, right? Like, and so I only say this to the young people watching, and even to y'all, like, sometimes it doesn't make sense when you're hearing it from somebody who did it before. But I think to piggyback off of what Nikki was saying, it's like, look, I've seen where this can go, and you may not understand it now, but if you jump into this, there are a lot of other things that can come. So it's not, I would say, you know, even in defense of the parents that come off rigid, it's like, look, we done been through this thing, and almost all of them, there's a unanimity about this whole thing. Like, all these parents are saying the same thing. So maybe, just maybe, whosoever will let them hear, maybe it's some truth to it. Maybe it's like, hey, chill. And I'm not saying that to say don't. I'm saying chill. Like, maybe just to hear it.
I mean, I feel like you guys can tell us, like, don't do that. I know it comes with it. But we're also not going to truly understand until we're in that position.
True.
It's like if a little kid touches a hot stove and you tell them over and over again, don't do it. And then when they see it's hot and burn their finger, they're like, okay, I'm not doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Now, I would say that's a great illustration. So the question is, what if the equivalent of touching the hot stove is getting chlamydia? Like, you was anxious, right? You was like, oh, I'm gonna touch this stove now, it's hot. And then you touch it, and now you burnt. And you like
literally,
like for
right.
real,
literally.
You know, like, and so I only say that because I like that illustration, and the only reason I say that is because why don't we ever just think, yeah, I see the heat emanating from the stove. I feel it when the oven opens. Why do I want to touch it anyway? Like, it don't feel good when I'm close to it. But I just be wanting to know. I ain't judging nobody, and I can only say that in my experience, every time my mama said, that's hot, and I said, well, how am I supposed to know if I don't, get burnt? And then I got burnt, and I ain't like it, and then I came back to my mama and said, Mama, that burnt. So I just be wondering, what is it about the personal experience aspect of sex that causes us to want to disregard that wisdom? So
I think it's more so us wanting to have like the free will and the choice to do that ourselves, and then having the ability to learn from it and grow from that. I guess you can say mistake or that decision. I think we just want the chance to learn.
Word. Okay. What do I see? I see Nicholas. He like, wait a minute.
I also think because social media advertises it everywhere. It doesn't matter where we go, what we look at. Sex is advertised everywhere. Like, even at a young age, you see it on TV, you see it on your phone, like, especially because kids are getting like stuff earlier and earlier now. You get on TikTok, oh my goodness, what are you seeing? Oh, this girl shaking the booty on the screen. Oh my goodness, that you immediately start to think as a young man, like, okay, I like the way that look. Like, that's how you start to think. So it's literally advertised everywhere. So when we're growing up, we're like, well, I mean, our parents may have said not to do this, but it looked really good to do. So.
Word.
Yeah, that's good.
That's really good. So you're basically, again, being inundated with so many things that are sexually provocative. So it's almost like second nature to think that this is the way that it's supposed to be, regardless of what you're being told by your parents, or regardless of how we try to share, or not just your parents, just period, somebody who's in a place of authority that's trying to keep you from getting into this thing. So with that being said, and this will be kind of like our last question that we kind of address at the moment, if for some reason, and just be real candid, if there is a parent, if as your parents we say, because you said you like the freedom of just free will, just give me the opportunity to make the choice, right? So if as a parent we give you free will and we say, yep, if sex is what you want to do, then you go ahead and do it. If that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm gonna put you on birth control, or I'm gonna give you these condoms. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. Do you feel like that's okay? Before you answer though, do you feel like that's how it's supposed to be? Because the flip side of the coin is, if I say, hey, go ahead, play on 95. Go right out there. Put this helmet on 95. Put these knee pads on 95. Get out there on 95 North between about 7 and 8, with the traffic. Get out there and go play in it.
You got freedom.
You got freedom. You got free will. You got freedom of choice.
That's cool.
That's what you want.
So I mean, if you have kept that same energy, but so me, I grew up in church. So if you kept that same free will energy while I'm still in church, while I'm still getting fed with the word, I'm not going to want to do it, because I'm going to know, okay, they're giving me free will, but I know this ain't right. I know this ain't how I'm supposed to go. So that restriction is going to bring out the rebellion in my flesh. I'm like, man, I don't care what they say. I want to do it anyway. Like, that's kind of how we think.
Who else? I need a girl. Give me a girl's perspective real quick. All right? Go on, tell me, Jalen. Because you're the one that said you want a free will.
It all depends on how you were brought up, first of all, because if you were brought up in church, then it's kind of like, even though you do have the choice, you're going to be able, I think that's kind of the whole point. If you have the choice, but you know how you were raised, you're going to be able to choose for yourself that it's not right, and not just having somebody in your ear telling you, oh, don't do this, don't do this. You're going to be able to choose for you that it's not right.
Okay.
Because, I think even in fairness, like, between you and I think, like, we don't talk about sex a lot in church. Sex is very taboo in church. It's very much husband, wife, children, don't mention it, or you're in sin, right? Like, and so, like, I've always wondered, and this is a great conversation point, I've always wondered if sex conversation was more normalized between parents and children, if it would rise up this desire in children to say, well, that's my choice, right? Like, so if it was like, hey, guys, look, from teenage, adolescent, even early teenagers, just like, look, guys, okay, so this is what can come from sex. This is why husbands and wives are given this marital privilege. This is why these things take place. If this was a conversation that was normally had and not so taboo, do we think that children would be so inclined to just say, hey, that stove look hot over there, I'm gonna touch it, right? So I've always wondered that, and I think that this is an awesome conversation to have. I'm glad that we're doing it.
So ending on that is what this panel was meant to do. The conversation, to spark the conversation between you and your kid, to normalize the sex conversation. It is, after you have watched this with your child or, without your child, what we want to happen is for you to go and address these things. We have, we got 5 kids up here, limited amount of kids. This is a handful of kids out of who's watching, and they're expressing their opinion. It's me and Jared up here talking, but you have your own kid, and what we want you to do is take everything that we've discussed, not don't beat your kids up or try to make them talk, but make it normal to talk about it. Even if you start just talking about your experiences, how it started for you, some of the things that you learned about it, and don't just tell them all the bad stuff, because for real, Sex is not all bad. So be honest when you're talking to them. Be honest with the dialogue. Let them know the pros and the cons, and keep it an ongoing conversation. And that's what we want out of this whole segment. We want you guys to be able to discuss this with your kids. That way they're getting the right information from the right type of people. Now, this was just part one. This part was just to start it, kick it off, trigger it for you, get it going. Now, our next part, that we're really going to dive into all those other questions: oral sex, masturbation, pornography, all of those words. Don't say it, oops, I can't believe it. Yep, we're going to go into that in part two. But what we're hoping is by the time you see part two, you've already opened up a great dialogue with your kids from part one. We love y'all. We thank y'all for coming out and watching this and getting something from it. Please tune back in so we can see part two, because we really going to jump into it. We'll have the same dialogue, the same people on the panel. It's going to be amazing. Shout out to all of you guys for watching. We love y'all. Misfit movement in full effect.
Not really. There we go. Okay. So I just was talking the whole time, just trying to figure out if you can hear me. Y'all can hear me? Okay, cool.
I'm loud though. Y'all can hear me?
Just talk.
Okay, I'm talking. Louder? I'm not talking loud enough. Okay.
Project your voice.
Am I good or no?
Hi. I don't know what else to say, so. Okay. Hi. I woke up and then I rushed out the house.
Me? Talk, Jared. Can y'all hear me?
Yo.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
They can.
You can't hear me? They can hear me? Okay. Okay, cool.
What about me? Can you hear 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 me? I said a hip, hop, a hip to the hibbit. Nope.
And the reason we waited.
Hey.
Oh, it's an interlude. Yeah, I said no.
I think we're listening to Hope. Is that Hope?
What? It's a skit.
I was like, wait a minute. This is not for the okay. I didn't know what we were doing.
Y'all funny, man.
You the one that put. Sorry.
You're like, wait.
Because before we was like,
this is not rap. This is not.
This baby shark?
Then forgiveness. I got a question though. So would you think it's cool if a person was really out here and they was experimenting and getting as liberal as they possibly could with their bodies? Would you think that it's important for them to, at the very least, make their parents aware that this is happening? Go ahead, Nicholas or Jayla.
I think it is important to at least, try and bring it up with them, but that also depends on your relationship with your parents.
I know that nowadays it's not the floppy disk. Now it is literally right at your fingertips. Literally, like you get online, you can just type the wrong search word, and the next thing you know, you got everything popping up on your screen, right? Do you guys feel like in this day and age that porn has affected the way that you see sex? Nicholas, do you feel like porn is something that because you see it all the time, and it doesn't have to, when I say porn, I don't mean just the ones that you got to get on the XXX, website. I'm talking about just period. Like from the commercials with the innuendos to, the TikTok, Instagram. Do you feel like it affects how you view sex? Like how your perception is about what sex is and what it should be and what it should look like?
The problem with saying that oral sex is sex is that you can relate oral sex to masturbation, and I don't count masturbation as sex because you're not actually putting it in.
But
You're
but you
putting
know
it
what
in-
what oral sex means?
The best part of the process, I get to go back to my accent. There's going to be another one.